Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Growing Up Gaming Podcast. Gentlemen, do we have a juicy one for the listeners today? First off, in the news, we are kicking things off.
How juicy is it?
Brandon, you know which game you love? Sea of Stars. I know. I spoiled it for you. New DLC coming in hot for Sea of Stars. So let's talk about that. We are also saying goodbye to the Xbox 360 digital store, RIP. Throwing out, set to close soon. Game Pass has gotten more expensive, but has it gotten better? No, the answer is no.
Spoiler alert, no.
Lastly,
it was already great.
Do not sleep on Pokemon Sleep, as it is bringing in the big money. After that, we are shifting gears to a brand new episode of Indie Love, where we are talking Pipsqueak, and it is a brand new Metroidvania where you play as a adorable mouse named Tofu. He is a small mouse exploring a strange and hostile world. And then lastly, gentlemen, to wrap things up, we will be giving our top 5 of our favorite Xbox 360 games to say goodbye, to say adios, and to say farewell to, I would probably say, Xbox's best console, but hey, we'll dive into that a little bit later.
I don't think there's much competition there.
No.
I think it's a hard win.
Yeah, the 360 is like the GameCube. The best they ever made.
Yeah, that was
but actually good and commercially successful.
What a generation.
I'm pretty sure 360 even like smashed PS3.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did.
Yeah.
But first,
only time Microsoft did that.
Yeah, exactly.
But first, it is time for much needed introductions. I am Mike. I will be running the ship today, but my co-pilots and co-captains, I have the one and only Mr. Brandon.
What up?
And the formerly bearded
that was
one.
So weak.
I know, that was horrible.
I thought you were going for Eric first, to be honest. I thought you were about to say Eric.
No.
Like,
now
it
is the formerly bearded one, the thumb himself, Mr. Eric.
I'm not too much of a thumb anymore. I've grown a little bit of a stubble. I'm kind of halfway back to normal.
I know. For our listeners, beard. This is like a 2-day beard for Eric, and he's already just plowing through a freaking full one. So, attaboy, buddy.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Manager Toad is around. I forgot him in the other room, so I'll grab him after. But he's here hanging out.
Yeah.
So
with slamming cocaine off prostitutes in the other room. We get it. He's not done yet.
Manager Toad.
100%. He's got to clean up first.
With that, gentlemen, it is time to get down to business. It is time to jump into the news.
Das Boots.
Let's get started. All right, everybody, we are starting this week in gaming off with a big one, a personal favorite of the one and only Mr. Brand. Actually, Eric, you also love Sea of Stars, didn't you?
Oh, buddy.
Oh, my God, yeah.
Yeah.
I would say Eric liked it even more. He platinumed that motherfucker.
Yeah, but Eric sucks. So we have some new
platypus. Put some respect on the paddle.
That's fair. I can't even take that away from him. But gentlemen, nearly 1 year after launch, Sabotage Studio has finally broken their silence, and they have let fans know that development is going well. That is all they've said about the new DLC coming out for Sea of Stars. So some cool new updates that are coming down the pipeline. So there will be new DLC coming. This is actually part of their incredibly successful Kickstarter campaign, where they had over 25,000 people back Sea of Stars to be created. And they earned more than $1.6 million just from Kickstarter, which is
amazing.
Freaking awesome. So they blew past all of their stretch goals. Yeah, crazy. So they blew past all of their stretch goals, and one of them being DLC. And then the other one, in the other mode that they have also confirmed that they are working on and things are going well, is co-op, actually. So they're going to be creating a co-op mode so that you can... Yeah, so there's going to be brand new dungeons that are going to be co-op specific. And then the last part of kind of the news of this, and this is all confirmed by tweet, where we will be receiving more details later this year. So strap in, tune on, and we will definitely be back with that. But the coolest part about all of this is that the DLC is actually going to connect the Sea of Stars universe with their prior game, which is called The Messenger. So it is to basically, is this like the Sabotage verse? Is that what we're going for here? But
the Saboverse?
Yeah, Saboverse, whatever you want to call it. But either way, Brandon, Eric, have either of you played The Messenger?
No, I have not.
I looked into it when Sea of Stars is coming out, and I wanted to play it. I just didn't have the time at the time.
Ah, gotcha. It is
You have played it, Mike?
I have played it. Yes, it's very, very cool. I highly recommend it. It's very different from Sea of Stars. It is basically going more the route of Metroidvania, like side scroller. So it actually starts off very much like a retro NES style of game. I'm not going to say much. I don't know if it actually shows in the trailer, but things switch up and things, let's say, upgrade. And very, very cool game, though. Highly, highly recommend. Bosses are awesome. The combat is very cool. You can see on the video for anyone who is watching with us over on youtube.com/growingupgaming that, again, just like really, really neat game. So they are actually going to be putting this universe connecting somehow with the Sea of Stars, and then the Messenger Ninja will be connecting with our good friends over on Sea of Stars.
So, Mike, having played both of the games, can you see how they would share the same universe?
No. That's the part I'm very curious about, because again, it's like they're two totally different genres of game, right? One is more Metroidvania side scroller, the other one classic RPG Chrono Trigger, right? So very, very curious to see how they're going to connect it, but I have all the faith in the world. Sabotage Studios out of Montreal, Quebec is top of their game, and again, they are on the short list of studios that whatever they put out, like I'm picking up. So. Again, for anyone out there who hasn't yet checked out The Messenger, please highly, highly recommend. And then obviously it doesn't need to be said, but anyone who hasn't yet checked out Sea of Stars was one of our GUG finalists for Game of the Year. Erik platinumed it because he's true champione. So either way, yeah. What do you guys think?
Didn't it win our retro game of the year, or like whatever we came up with retro indie style game of the year or whatever?
I think it did.
I'm pretty sure
I would be pretty confident to say that it won a couple Guggies.
1,000%.
And pull up the list.
What?
I'm not going to pull up the list.
Yeah. Fuck that.
I'll find it in post, and I will put something on the screen right now.
There you go. And it can go right into that big audio gap.
There you go.
And you can do a little chime. Ding. But yeah, I would say for this, honestly, there's only two options, obviously, that they could do for a DLC, having known nothing about it. You could either do the more simple to me, like my non-programming mind, is just plug the ninja in as a DLC character and you have a side mission that's story-based. But what would be really cool and really fucking hard, and I'm sure it might be a little bit too much, is that all of a sudden, Sea of Stars cast gets sucked into a portal as they're traveling over the ocean or whatever. They show up in this guy's game, and it's like a multi-person Metroidvania, like a multi-party system where like you can command people to stay here, and like you have to use their talents, and like because they're different magical skills. Like, all right, you got a fire person, you got the ninja person, and you need them to get through the Metroidvania to help this guy. And then maybe he becomes, if you beat it, then he comes into your game as a full playable character.
Have both of you beat Sea of Stars?
I did not
beat it. I got like 25 hours in, I think.
Then I will say this without spoiling as best I can. At the end of the game,
Lee lives.
It would make sense that our heroes would be able to interact with another universe.
Oh. So yet again, they die and then they can time travel.
Something like that.
Yeah, I honestly, I meant to beat it. I like forget what happened. I was playing it on the Portal before bed, and then something else came out, and because it just felt like it was one of the first games I played on the Portal, and it was just such an easy transition. Like it was like the smallest butt plug. It was just so nice and easy that anyone could do it. And
at the end of last year, so many games just started coming out.
There's that too. Yeah, it was just a filthy year, which, as we discussed, I think was the strongest contender, or at least unarguably top 3 best years in gaming history ever. 2023.
We should definitely cover that at some point.
Yeah, I think we started to, but then we never really. I think we kind of just all folded and agreed that like, all right, there's not really much competition.
Yeah, I think 2007 was another good year. Speaking of Xbox 360.
Oh, buddy.
Wow.
The glory days of 360, just dropping dicks on Sony was like, oh, that's a timepiece.
And if you look back at it, like that was probably the last time that Microsoft was putting out games that were beating Sony. Like today, does Sony have any competition? Like not really.
Not really at all.
Look at console exclusives, and just straight up whatever they're releasing has been pretty solid. Xbox, the greatest thing they've done in the longest time has been Game Pass.
Yeah, and Game Pass has been around for a long motherfucking time.
Yeah, you forget actually how long it's been.
It's been a huge thing for quite some time. I think that actually, just give Xbox its credit, is the last good thing it did was probably Starfield. And Starfield was mixed reviews in terms of hype train. Like the hype train was like, this would be the best experience of your life. It's literally like a frat boy promising a girl sex. You know, it's just like, girl, I'm gonna rock your world. This could be fucking amazing. And then all of a sudden, like 6 seconds of drunk sex afterwards, like, well, I had a great time. It's like, you didn't, that's on you. Sorry. Like, it's just, yeah. So yeah, that's my take.
All right, guys. So speaking of
Mike's driving us back onto the train track.
Frat boy.
Gentlemen, speaking about Xbox 360. So as we mentioned in the rundown, the Xbox 360 digital store is going bye-bye. So we will be saying adios to yet another digital store. Again, when was it? Is either earlier this year or late last year that we said goodbye to the Wii U online. So now it is time for us to say goodbye to the Xbox 360. It is going to be shutting down on July 26th. So there is still time. I will say, unlike Nintendo, Xbox has actually done its users a solid, and they've heavily discounted everything that is on the console and on the system there. So when Nintendo decided to shut down theirs, they just left everything full price, and people had to go on, jump in, and kind of buy it. So honestly,
Nintendo.
way to go, Microsoft! You actually did a big solid on that one there. And to celebrate, well, maybe not celebrate the closure, but to celebrate Xbox 360, they actually released a brand new dynamic background for the Xbox Series S and X, where it is the classic Xbox 360 blades. So the old system, which many do believe is the best UI of any video game console, it is now available. It doesn't have the same kind of wishing motion of going across, but as you are navigating the Series X menus, it does make the little blade switching sounds, which is actually pretty hype. So from there, any game,
they figured that out a lot sooner.
Yeah, seriously. So any game that you do purchase, I guess, between now or prior, and then when it does close down, any game that you have, you will still be able to play it. So they're not kind of hard blocking anyone outside of that. And then there is a full list, which I will throw on the screen right now, but there's a full list of backwards compatible games that you can actually still purchase on the Xbox Series S and the Series X as well, because Microsoft has basically PC infrastructure, so it can work backwards compatible far before PlayStation did, because the stupid ass PlayStation 3. Either way, gentlemen,
we really fucked them.
We shall pour one out for the old the Xbox. But thoughts, comments, questions, concerns?
Honestly,
sad.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's oddly enough, I was having this conversation today at work a little bit. One of my coworkers was telling me a funny story about how he got banned from COD for 2 weeks for audio, which is a whole separate thing. But basically, we were talking about digital because he just bought the Slim. So now we were talking about how all the games are going digital, and like even the modern day consoles, they're kind of, I don't want to say punishing hard disk like owners, but in a lot of ways, like they're kind of dialing it back, right? And as we talked about, mentioning our Guggies, last year, top 2 games, Alan Wake 2 and Baldur's Gate 3, 2 of the biggest games of the year, huge competition for game of the year between those two, and both of them were digital release only. So I find it very interesting that we're kind of like, all right, like, why are these, I get the 360 super old, but how can we not, in today's modern age technology, like port that over to the modern day Xbox and have like a nostalgia cage or like a nostalgia box, and you go in and you can access the digital libraries from old games. And maybe you get a pass, like, all right, pay $5 and play unlimited games for the month. Like, why not? Like, I just find it weird that they're abandoning those.
I think the biggest issue would be support for all of those games,
Yeah.
right?
And like
annual
licensing, things like
updates,
that, right?
licensing, and dealing with the online communities and everything. Like how many games can you dedicate servers to? And like when do you draw the
Yeah.
line?
That's
Right?
fair.
How many people are going back and playing like a random ass game from Xbox
Right.
360, like from
Like
But
who's
15
still
years ago?
playing Gears of War on Xbox 360? Or
yeah,
like even Halo, they have the Master Chief Collection that they've re-released. So if you wanted to play any of those games, you're playing them on a newer console.
which is fair. But I would say, you know what? Shortlist those games, kind of like what we did for our top 5 coming up later at the end of the episode. But you take
Yep.
an army of fucking good games. Like nobody needs to play some of the shit that came out on 360. Some of that stuff can just be shredded. But like going through maybe top 50 or just even having a floating list of like if Xbox wanted to engage their community, their fan base, you make a live voting thing, kind of like Reddit for upvoting, downvoting, and you can have a top 50 games that are available in that nostalgia box, and the online community votes on it. Where if you downvote like, oh fuck, like I don't want, like why is Halo 2 in there or something, or that's not a bad that's a bad example because that game's awesome. Uh, but you pick a random
Literally.
shitty like mid-class game or even a cult classic game, and it just gets downvoted out of the top 50. They're like, all right, cool, that's gone. It goes to the Disney vault and it's locked, and we're not going to support it and anything until maybe it comes into a re-release, like a live series social media thing where like, what game do you want to see come out of the vault next month? And then you get people voting on it through social media. Like Xbox could really do something with this.
Yeah.
And I feel like maybe they don't need to, and
Yeah.
it's just a lot of extra fluff that they don't want to deal with because right now they're just
1000%.
pumping stock. But as a company that was originally, I shouldn't say Microsoft, I say Xbox as a company based on the brand Xbox that started for gamers, made by gamers, inspired by gamers. Like the original Xbox was made by a bunch of gamers that wanted to have the console that they wanted to play. They wanted to have everything for them, and Microsoft backed them. They've 100% just kind of dipped into the corporate level of things.
Yeah.
Where
Oh
Sony is
yeah.
kind of even just dipped in, even with their making fun of Xbox in the last generation, when there was the whole Xbox locking your games for sharing. Like if you had a hard disk and I gave it to Erik, you had to pay like a PC because there's only one code per game, and PlayStation had that whole campaign of like, how do you share games with PlayStation? And it just shows the like the owner or the rep at the time handing a game to his friend, like, here you go. Like Sony's kind of managed to keep that fun gaming spirit along with
Meanwhile,
the corporate
Sony
side.
is sneakily raising the prices of all of their games. So
Yeah.
Yeah, but also inflation. Everything's like everything's fucked.
yeah, but you made the argument last time that
Yeah, I say a
if
lot of
everything
shit.
if everything is a digital purchase now, how does inflation affect that? You don't have to print on a now more expensive disc. You're just making
Agreed.
somebody download it. It doesn't cost you any extra money, and yet
Yeah,
you're charging more for it.
and we talked about that today too. Like specifically, Alan Wake 2 and especially Baldur's Gate 3, most expensive fucking game release on modern day consoles. Like one of the first ones to jack up the prices by, I should say jack, like they raised it by up to $93 or $95, I think, almost for the digital copy.
And now
When
I
a
got the
digital
deluxe.
copy, in theory, yes, should decrease by random number I made up $10 because you're getting rid of the actual print media, like the plastic for the
Totally.
disc, the shipping to like for the shipping companies to actually create it in a factory. Like it's just share file done.
Well, gentlemen, I
I
think that
think
this is
end of the
a
day,
perfect segue into the next news article. Speaking of increasing prices, gentlemen, it is not
Uh-oh.
Sony.
Good
It is not
rating.
Sony this time that is increasing prices, but actually Xbox back in the news for
Here
Pay
we
more
go.
for less.
there you go. Last week they actually did increase their Game Pass. So it's a little bit weird because what they ended up doing is messing around with the actual tier system, right? So again, they have Game Pass, they have Game Pass Ultimate, and they even last year they went and rebranded what was Xbox Gold. They had moved that under the Game Pass umbrella. So now it's honestly, I do think it's even more confusing because now there is a tier of Game Pass that does not give you day one access to games anymore. So even when they're doing like, you know, in all of the presentations when it's like, oh, day one with Game Pass, I feel like they have to put like a little like asterisk or like day one with Game Pass Ultimate.
Only if you're paying $85.99 a month.
Basically. So the new Game Pass standard tier is going to be $15 a month, and that will not include the day one releases. So you do get EA Play with it, which is pretty cool, but you do not get day one with Xbox. If you want to move up to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, then that will be going from $17 a month up to $20, so about $5 more from the standard one, but in my opinion, it is worth the extra $5 because you're getting day one of Gears and Call of Duty and everything else that goes along with it. And then the Xbox...
None of those games have come out to justify that day one release.
And then the Game Pass Core, which is the cheapest one. So that is being increased from $60 a year, and that is going up to $75. And that is just your basic able to play online. They do give you, I think, 2 games a month, so similar to PlayStation Plus. So there is that. And then the PC-only Game Pass is going from $10 up to $12. So thank you very much, Phil Spencer. Thank you, Xbox. So yeah, raises across the board. They got rid of one of their middle tier ones and then ended up just kind of separating it now. So now there is Game Pass without day one and then Game Pass Ultimate with day one.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but when Xbox started having their packages where you needed to pay to actually play anything online, just the basic tier was it Xbox Gold that had
correct at that point it was gold, yeah. So again, $60
and it was a $60 price tag. So I think that's fair. Like that, considering inflation, that's what 25 years down the road now. 20 years,
something along those lines,
and that's still the same price. That doesn't bother me. $60 to play online. I mean, do they really need the money to support the servers? No, but you can argue that that's what it's being put toward, right?
Well, yeah, that, and like again, you have 20 million people on, and you raise something by $10, and instantly you make a shit ton more money. So servers are not. I do think that they're bleeding money just from the poor sales of some of their bigger titles, right? We don't have to kind of dive through it, but even Senua, which is arguably one of their bigger titles of this year, hasn't been selling all too well, right? And again, I think it's a great Game Pass game, but how many people are going to be buying it exactly?
Like, yeah, especially
I forgot it came out. I've been seeing ads everywhere.
Well, they hyped it up for years, and I mean literal years. Like, there's been 2 Summer Games Fest, or maybe I don't want to say 3, but at least 2, where they made a big deal about it. They had the whole creepy, ominous tones, everything like front and center of the showcase. But the first one was good. Wasn't. You know what I mean? Like, it was okay. Like, it was a really visual game. It was cool story. Very cool story, realistically. Yeah. But the gameplay was pretty shallow.
So Brando, the second game was announced on December 13th, 2019 at the Game Awards. So
that's I undersold how long it's been that they've been hyping that game for.
Yeah.
Which the last game we heard, like we got hyped that hard for, was probably Cyberpunk. And at least in the end, Cyberpunk did come out eventually being very good.
Yeah. Eventually.
Yeah. But Sen was like the second one. I still really enjoyed it off the bat. I've so brazenly said on the pod that it might be one of the best RPGs I've ever played at the time, even with all the bugs.
To this day, I think it would be in a top 10 for sure.
Yeah, man. It was Aladdin, you know? It was a diamond in the rough. It just needed to find his Princess Jasmine and fly to a whole new world. That's all it needed to do.
That's your mouth. All right, gentlemen.
Hey, that was a way more PG random tangent than
that's fair.
Than I used to.
That's fair. All right, guys. We got one more Xbox, and then Brandon, I got one for you, and Eric, I'll say I got one for you. Lastly, on the Xbox standpoint, they just came out with a brand new commercial last week, all about Xbox with no console required. So,
the Samsung shit.
No, not even that. Actually, it's Fire, the Fire Stick. So,
Oh, damn.
so
Damn.
Amazon, or I guess, yeah, Amazon and Xbox technically have teamed up. So even on Amazon right now, you can go ahead and buy. You get a controller, a Fire Stick Pro, 4K Pro Max, and then a month of Xbox. It is currently at the time of filming, it is the Amazon Prime days and the big Prime sale. So you can get that for anywhere, depending on the color of the controller, for $94 on sale. And then
That's not
afterwards, it
bad.
goes up to 144 for, again, controller, 1 month of Game Pass, and the Fire Stick 4K Pro Max, or whatever it's called there. But again, as you can see on the screen, they have actually the commercial. It's pretty funny. It's basically a spoof of Scream. So she's on the phone with someone who wants, and he wants to play a game, and she's all like getting freaked out. But it turns out he just wants to play Xbox. So it's very, very stupid. But honestly,
Damn.
yeah. So no more
I'm just looking at it right
console
now.
required. You can go ahead, just plug in that to your TV, and you are off to the races.
I think the commercial
That's pretty
should have
filthy.
been what's his name? Bill Gates giving Jeff Bezos a phone call saying, "Hey, Jeffrey, do you want to take over the video game landscape with me?" Huh? Yeah, Bill, that would be great. With his weird fucking evil billionaire laugh. And
Thank you for that,
done.
Eric.
Welcome.
Side missions with Eric.
Oh my god. So
Honestly, though, I'm just looking it up on the website. Like, because you have me carried. I'm always a sucker. Like, I was an Xbox fan before I was a Sony fan,
yeah,
and they lost me, and I'm always just looking for an excuse to come back. But
New
honestly,
Halo.
$93
you just need
for a
Fire Stick,
highlighter
buddy.
green. Well, that's what I'm looking. So you got a nice like Kratos red controller, like the OG PS3 one, or you have like a shitty highlighter green looking controller, and
They're
those look
calling
like
it
to be the two
Amazon
options.
Red now.
Amazon Red. I feel like that's racist, but like I'm just, yeah. But yeah, between those two, the red does look like the only choice between those two, realistically. But $93, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah.
Actually, I lied to you both. Go, Eric.
Uh-oh. So you're paying the Fire Stick subscription, and then you get a month free Game Pass, and then you'll have to pay the Game Pass subscription.
No, I don't
But you
believe there
don't-
is a subscription for Fire Stick. I think that it's just like, it's like Roku.
Oh, yeah.
So you use that to just
plug and
launch your
play.
apps, and it launches your YouTubes and your Netflix and your Disney Pluses and stuff.
So
Mike, apparently you're getting arrested.
So wait,
Oh shit, it's content.
I don't need to buy a console, and I can
No, Eric, that's the whole
play
point of this.
Game Pass.
You,
But,
Yeah.
yeah.
and,
you
other
literally-
streaming, man.
than the Game Pass price, there's no additional fee.
correct.
Mm.
That's fucking whack.
Right?
Isn't
That
that
went
great?
right over my head.
Yeah.
Yeah, can literally see it. Took the hair right off the top of your head.
Yeah.
Literally.
Again, honestly, like
Dropped
I
right
think
off my face.
I don't. It is using the streaming. Obviously, the streaming technology. It's not going to be as powerful, but on the console, like when I am playing my Xbox, you can choose to like download a game, or you can just stream it, and the streaming works pretty well. I have actually never experienced any real issues with it, so I do think it's a pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
Honestly, it's when they did it with Samsung with the TVs, it was a big move. But now doing it through Amazon Fire Sticks,
Yeah, man. You can
That's
just bring that to
pretty-
like your parents' house or wherever you are. You
No
just plug it into
kidding.
their TV,
Yeah.
and you got Game Pass, man.
yeah, you have a USB instead of a console that you could just bring with you, potentially internationally. Like,
Yeah.
that's a like we've said this before though too. For how much Microsoft has been dropping the ball coming up with content, they have laid the thickest foundation I have ever
Totally.
seen.
Yeah.
For like, if they start just dropping games, which they have the studios,
Yeah.
they've bought all the fucking studios, they've laid the infrastructure. It's literally like we've said this before, when PS6 and the next Xbox, whatever stupid name they name it, it's just going to be unreal. Like, it has the potential to just be unreal.
Well,
So-
you guys have been saying it for a year that Game Pass is awesome. Just
Yeah.
straight up the best thing Microsoft has done for Xbox for video games. And
Without doubt.
it like they really have laid the tracks for the future of gaming. And
Mhm.
this is just one more step toward that, right? Like if everything's going to be digital anyway, if they want us to buy digital games or, subscribe to a service to get the games for free via like something like Game Pass. Yeah, why not do something like this, and why not give Sony that slap in the face and be like, huh, we're making ourselves more accessible. Fuck you.
Exactly.
You may have better games, but people can play any of our games whenever they want, wherever they want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And what famous old thing, sorry to cut you off,
no,
Mike,
go please.
but a famous thing just comes to memory of when Sega used to make video game consoles. And I don't think that that's going to happen to Sony. But can you imagine if one day Xbox is like, yeah. So we bought Sony's gaming studios, and now you could stream all of their games through our app, and like, just
who's to say they won't? If they now have a
Sony
deal with
Sony's not selling to fucking Microsoft.
Think about it.
Oh,
they
God.
now have a deal. They have
I can't
a
see them doing it
partnership
either, but
with Jeffy B, the capital billionaire B Bezos. Why wouldn't he be able to sort of strike a deal with Sony? Like, could that not be a link somewhere down the line to get maybe not putting it under the Microsoft name, but maybe they'll do like a joint Microsoft, Sony, get your Fire Stick, play all your fucking games together here.
All right, speaking
Honestly?
of joint, I'm cutting off these hypotheticals right now because I do have
last point then.
Okay.
Last point.
Okay,
more
go.
realistic goal here or anything would be Nintendo merging with Xbox.
Yeah,
And
that's
that
a little
Nintendo's
bit more
like, all right,
realistic.
we're selling you our
Then
licensing.
prices are going up and never coming down.
Never going down.
Never.
That would probably be the one sticking point. But Nintendo could handle the handheld department and be like, all right, we're going to engineer your mobile aspects of your console to make your like Game Pass accessible everywhere. You get full access to like Mario, Pokemon, Zelda, and that's pretty much it. And then and that could be a really good pull because Sony, I think, is literally just too big to concede.
Yeah. I don't know, boys. I don't know. There's again. Let's land this plane, but I do know there has already Microsoft has already confirmed that they are working on a handheld device as well. So I know the initial rumors was they were going to team up with Nintendo to get Game Pass on like Switch 2, whatever it is. But I do think they're just going to go head to head with everyone and kind of put out their own little machine.
Yeah, and Nintendo does make just fistfuls of cash as it is.
Yeah,
and when Switch 2 comes out,
they don't need
like
this
next
American garbage.
That's my thought too. I could literally see that being a closed door room, being like, "Yo, fuck the West."
Yeah,
like,
seriously,
we ain't doing this.
Japan isn't giving up literally their highest grossing everything for like Xbox. So
yeah, exactly.
Either way.
It'd be more likely Sony and Nintendo just be like backroom deal. Like, yeah, we're doing this.
Yeah. So
Japan
going
connection.
back. Brandon, going back to, I know you were talking about your Game Pass. You wanted a red controller and talking about landing into something pretty awesome. Gentlemen, Xbox, final thing I forgot to bring up. We have a brand new controller that you can possibly win, and it is a Deadpool controller shaped of the ass.
I fucking need that butt. It's
That
so
butt.
cool.
It's so good.
Man.
It is
I
so
do
good.
love that Xbox has still continuously come out with the best controllers.
But
by
Xbox does everything, creates everything that isn't a game. So
Yeah, it's the only thing they're not doing. Just everything gaming oriented, but not games.
Yeah, so unfortunately, this is not a retail device. You cannot go ahead and buy it. It is part of a contest where you can win a really cool special edition Deadpool Xbox, and it comes with this special ass edition of Deadpool controller. So it's super
They
awesome.
did they name
That's
it the
so
special
cool.
ass edition?
I don't know, but they probably
They did
They
it. They
should.
fucked up.
They probably did. All right, gentlemen. So we got two more left on the docket. Do we want Ninja Turtles or do we want Pokemon Sleep?
I'm gonna go with Sleep first, and then drive it home with Ninja Turtles.
Let's do
Yeah,
it.
that sounds right.
All right, gentlemen. So Pokemon Sleep. Have either of you heard about Pokemon Sleep?
Not until you mentioned it,
Nope.
and I had to look it up.
All right. So Pokemon trying to monetize every aspect of your life, whether you are walking or sleeping. They have come out with a new, I guess it's technically a game, but basically you can go ahead and use Pokemon Sleep. You put your phone right beside you, and then as you are sleeping, it recognizes how you are sleeping and gives you a sleep score, in which case you can go ahead and catch different Pokemon. So it came out about a year ago, and it has earned over $100 million. Just
That is
How?
fucking wild.
So 73 of the 100 million is actually coming from Japan. So Japan is clearly eating this shit up. The 15 million coming from the US, and actually 4 million coming from Taiwan. The game has been downloaded over 9.8 million times. And basically how it works is when you are not sleeping, you go ahead and you feed Snorlax, and you make Snorlax really strong. I'm guessing that's where you get the monetizing aspect of buying him different treats and candies and shit like that. And then the stronger Snorlax gets, along with how well your sleep score is, gets you different versions and different types of Pokemon to add to your Pokedex. So, gentlemen, it is, I personally think it's an incredibly stupid concept, but clearly
So how many Pokemon does Rob have?
Rob has 7. No, this is actually, I think this is like the one Pokemon game he has not dove into. But they do have
he would
other
never have
ones.
slept better if he got this game.
It's true.
It would be so good for his health.
But they also came out with a Pokemon teeth brushing video game or mobile game as well, where it keeps track of how long you brush your teeth. So like, again, if you're a kid, honestly, I feel like this is pretty hype. Like, it's like, yo, I want to go to bed because I want to try and catch like this limited edition Eevee, you know?
Honestly, it's really not a bad plan to use gaming and Pokemon for exactly that, to get kids to be like, all right, it's exciting. Like, you're going to have to go to sleep and then see where you're at.
Yeah, and when you wake up in the morning, you can see, and like if you saw on the screen, they have different like versions. So if you're like tossing and turning or things like that, so it's I don't know, it's pretty hype, gentlemen. It's pretty hype.
Yeah, I see the appeal.
Somebody about this.
100%, that too. But I could see that aspect being like, kids want to farm and like, oh, I need to get this, and you just, all right, I slept so fucking hard last night, I'm gonna catch something good. But still,
I'm gonna download this tonight, and next time we get on for some grown-up gaming discourse, I'll bring it up. I'll let you know how it goes.
Yeah, excellent. Hopefully not as long as the last time. I think.
No, we're good now, boys. We're good now, boys.
Well, I think it was before we cursed. It was like, I think we even happened. Like, we called you out.
Yeah, that was all
like,
you,
all right, we'll see you next Thursday, and we're like, whoa, don't jinx us. Like, you can't say shit like that.
Brandon,
we might not do it.
You were the jinx.
I'm pretty sure I was the first one to say you can't say that.
Honestly, boys,
I'll do a callback on that one.
I'll go back and find. I'll find the clip from the last episode. I'll throw it in here. But boys, we had the bachelor party, and then from there I did my Ironman triathlon. So there's just lots on the go. Now we're back. I'm done. No more training.
There have been times. Yeah.
Put it on mad weight, boys. So we're good, buddy. We're good.
Well, buddy, you're getting married soon. It's okay.
I know.
It's what's the great thing about marriage.
Weight. It's all out the window. No, I got a suit that I need to fit in. Then after that, it's all out the window, my friends.
Oh, yep.
All right, boys. To land this plane, in the final news article of the day from, I guess, last week is, Brandon, following your 10 out of 10 TMNT Mutant Mayhem that I don't know, a lot of people gave you. We got a lot of backlash on Brandon's 10 out of 10 TMNT Mutant Mayhem. It was a great movie.
The movie was perfect.
It was awesome.
There was no criticisms.
So at the time, they did announce that they were working on a Mutant Mayhem game, but they did not show off anything besides just saying, hey, this is coming. But boys, we finally have it. We have ourselves the first trailer and release date for the Mutant Mayhem video game. So it is called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutants Unleashed. It is being developed by a Heartful of Games. A Heartful of Games. I did not recognize any of the other games that they have created in the past, so just a couple other kind of smaller indie ones there. But the game is set to release on October 18th. And gentlemen, let me just show you here, because the collector's edition of this thing looks freaking awesome. I'm not gonna lie, the game itself looks pretty cool. I'm on the fence if I will be picking it up or not, but I will not lie to you that there is a part of me that really wants to get the collector's edition. So with part of the collector's edition, you do get a TMNT Ninja Turtles pizza light up LED sign. You also get
pretty hype.
You also get the pizza van as a little statue, which is equally as awesome. You get a Ninja Turtles mouse mat and just other things, pins, patches, stickers, a poster, and an art book as well. So this comes in at $200, which is probably the biggest sticking point as to why I have not yet pre-ordered it. But I'm not gonna lie, between the LED sign and the pizza van, like, that's top tier shit. That is a good collector's edition.
The LED sign alone is kind of worth the extra $100.
Is that USD though?
Yeah, it is. So that's
Ooh.
like $9,000 Canadian.
100%. That's the thing. Like you said, I do miss the collector's boxes of old where you just got a treasure trove of shit about the game instead of like a shitty. It's the same thing, but it has a fucking code in it.
Yeah.
You know. So seeing stuff like this makes me like, oh, I want. I might not even play the game, but I would buy this just for the
Just
feels.
for the stuff, yeah.
Yeah, but for fucking $300 ish Canadian, fuck that. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I can't justify that.
Gentlemen, I say we all put our money together and then we can split it 2 days a week each, and then the seventh day we rotate.
Yes. All I want is
Kinda
the
down.
pizza light and the van.
I know. It's
Yeah.
so good though. So either way,
Mouse
boys,
Mat's
it's
pretty cool, too.
it is coming out on October the 18th. So yeah, well, I'll definitely be in touch there. They actually just released. Speaking of Ninja Turtles, and again, just to kind of wrap this all up, but they did just release a brand new Ninja Turtles game that is basically Hades. So it's a Hades Ninja Turtles game that just came out.
Oh,
I think
fuck.
like
Do you
this
remember
week.
hearing about that?
Yeah, so it looks pretty cool. It just released on Switch. I want to say, again, like it could very well be today, but very, very recently. So definitely check that one out. I'll keep you guys posted. I might actually check this one out.
That's Splintered Fate, I think.
That
yeah,
is Correctamundo, good sir. It's called Splintered
yeah,
Fate,
yeah.
and I'll throw in a trailer now. It looks pretty sweet. So that's it, boys. That is all the
a
Ninja
Switch
Turtles news.
exclusive?
I actually think it might be.
I'm pretty sure it is.
Need trophies, man.
Speaking of Hades, though, Mikey, did you end up diving into Hades too?
I did. Yeah, actually, in a brand new Hades 2 massive update just came out recently as well, which I haven't yet downloaded. So I played a good chunk of Hades 2. It's very fun. It's very much like it's if you liked Hades 1, you'll like Hades 2. So
I have
Is
no
it
doubt.
better or worse than the first?
hard to say. I'm not gonna
Okay.
I'm not gonna pass any of that judgment until the final game is out. I don't think it's fair to put a beta up against a final game,
100%.
or like a finished and polished game. So I will wait there. But for the most part, I do like the changes that they made with it. But again,
Okay, good.
I think
It's always a good sign.
Yeah, it's definitely different within how you play the game from Zagreus to I think it's Meg something. I can't remember the full one there, but it's very, very cool. It's Zagreus' sister actually that you play as.
Magrius.
More to, yes. So more to come in our gala where we unleash the folders.
Absolutely. And that's maybe a good place to wrap up the Inda news, but we will alongside of this episode we will be releasing a big tick grown Guggernaut gala, if you will, of just everything that we've been playing, watching, seeing, and doing. So again, check out toss on the notification and get ready on your feed for that one, because I know Big Brandon has been waiting months for for this one here. So
Yes, my
Too
folder
long.
has grown so large. Yeah.
So that is it, everyone. That is last week, this week in gaming. And with that, it is time to jump over to our next segment. And we are talking indie love. And more importantly, we are talking Pipsqueak, a little mouse Metroidvania game that is coming down the line. So join us there, and we will see you right after this short break. Hello and welcome back to a brand new Indie Love, where we look at upcoming and brand new games in the indie sphere and highlight just some of the awesome creators that are out there. And gentlemen, I have another just pure banger. So Brandon, Eric, what do we love most about indie game studios?
When the name of the game
Single
rhymes
person
with your sex tape.
developers.
Thank you, Eric. You pay attention. So
I think I was onto something there.
Today we are going to be talking about Pipsqueak. It is a brand new Metroidvania that is so
Definitely correct.
According to the website of Pawn Games, which is the studio behind Pipsqueak, it is a single-person studio made by Daniel James Freer. But I actually think this one is cheating in a little bit, because there is a second individual who has come on and helped Daniel out. His name is Frogrammer, like frog and programmer put together. And he is helping.
He's an AI.
I love it.
He is helping Daniel create and program this game here. So the game itself, Pipsqueak, you do play as a mouse, and it is a Metroidvania style game where you play as Tofu the mouse. He is a small mouse exploring a strange and hostile world.
Still sounds like your sex tape.
Is he soft or firm?
Pipsqueak or Tofu? I would say firm.
Tofu.
I would say firm. So the game is created. The game is created by Pawn Studios. It's actually out of Adelaide, Australia, which is super, super awesome.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so really excited about that. Australia, literally the best place in the world. And Daniel, he has released one game prior. It is called Right, and it's a high-speed, actually precision platformer. So basically, think something like Super Meat Boy. So he has released that, and now he is hard at work to create Pipsqueak. The game itself is currently on Kickstarter, so you can go and back it. And I'm not gonna lie, gentlemen, Grown Up Gaming, we have backed it. So we will be getting a copy of Pipsqueak. It looked awesome, and more importantly, you can actually head over to Steam right now. Links will be in the description below, and you can download a demo of the game. So for those who are watching along with us over at youtube.com, you can see a gameplay walkthrough of the game, just to kind of get a taste about what it's like.
Yeah, it just looks like a mouse with a big ass sword fucking up hedgehogs so far, which is but honestly it looks really good.
Among other things.
Yes, there's a lot of shit
all
going on.
All kinds of rodentry.
Yes. All the woodland critters here. I'm just waiting for like the final boss to be a person's foot, and it's just like you're dead.
Buddy, just wait till the final boss of the demo.
Checking out this video now, it actually looks really cool. The
100%
mechanics, the way you're able to climb and maneuver around things looks really cool. I'm definitely going to check this out.
Yeah, so
the platforming mechanics look crisp.
Like
the jumps look solid, and like a good wiggle room when you jump. Like it looks like you have some good wiggle in the air, which I really like. I like wiggles in the air when it comes to my platformers.
Yeah, and coming from making more of like a precision platform, like Super Meat Boy style of game, like you know that he has that feeling locked down of, again, just like a really, really good platformer.
You can totally see that, yeah.
So for the game itself, you're actually going to be uncovering the truth of the expansive labyrinth, where you're going to be exploring, discovering, and having combat challenges. You bring hope to the dying lands and the tiny inhabitants in this grand adventure of mouse-sized proportions, Eric. I feel like you just enjoyed that.
I was just saying, this still sounds like Mike's sex tape to me.
You're going to be exploring and fighting your way through 5 different biomes, and then each of them have their own environmental and kind of mechanical uniqueness between each of the biomes.
And room for expansion, probably.
Oh, yeah, 1000%.
If it takes off.
So the game, and then I guess lastly, and you don't see it as much within this demo, but on the trailer that I'll jump to shortly, the platforming actually switches to something that's a little bit more akin to Shovel Knight. So instead of it just being jumping around, you are actually doing more of down bounces. So you can see here where you kind of down bounce, similar to Shovel Knight on his shovel. So it's going to be kind of going from just standard jumping on different platforms to, again, clearly diving around and making it a little bit more fun as you're going through enemies and kind of running through there.
Yeah, you could see that a little bit in this demo when he was jumping onto a swinging axe, and he slashed at it from above to hop further rather than being axed.
Yeah,
like the little tofu that he is.
Those spinning like ninja wheels going on, like instead of a double jump, he was bouncing off of them to get to the platforms above. Like that's pretty solid. Honestly, the mechanics on this do look really cool.
Yeah, that's what really like. Again, I played the demo as well, thoroughly enjoyed it, and it was for sure worth the backing of this one. Like one that I do want to continue kind of covering and seeing what's going on with this development, because again, from what I played, I was super happy with it. And then even just what's kind of to be coming. So there's going to be over 20 different combat like enhancements. So being able to make your character even that much more stronger, and then you're going to be able to discover different abilities as you go through. So from a Kickstarter standpoint, the game has actually been fully funded, and it started with a $60,000 Australian goal in order to be funded for them to make it. That's about $40,000 US just for conversion. And it ended up being backed by over 2,019 backers. Obviously, like I said, Gug being one of them, for a total of 93,200 Australian dollars. So just a huge congratulations to Daniel, to Frogrammer, and then I think
that's Frogrammer.
And then John is the third member, but John is doing all of the music. So again, super awesome team. Excited to check this one out. And like I said, for anyone who's watching along and wants to play it for themselves, you can go ahead and try the demo yourself.
How did you enjoy the music, Mike?
Music was great. Music, I would say 10 out of 10.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Damn. So, just throw in 10 out of 10.
And I'm going to have to check this out tonight,
Pokemon
too.
Sleep or Pipsqueak? Pick one.
Both.
Check it out. Again, I will post below to the Steam page, to the Kickstarter page, and for anyone who is interested and wants to follow along. Yeah, Pipsqueak. There you go, boys.
Not sure if you said off the bat, do we have a date for this game yet?
No date yet. So again, now that it is funded, I'm pretty sure they'll able to move into a full development cycle for it. But no date has been given quite yet. But I will update yourself, and I will update the Grown Up Gaming community as we learn more.
Totally.
Fucking A, buddy. The Kickstarter's been good.
This will be so cool.
Yeah, man.
Like, just between 1,000 cuts from like our last kind of like Kickstarter focus, and then now this one, I think they're both very different. They both look very unique, and they seem to have a lot of potential. So I am a fan. I have to say, like, I like everything about this game so far. Yeah, especially that death animation. The death animation was sexy.
Oh, as you're falling,
not just Mike anymore.
Yeah, just falling into green goo. I don't know. It gets me.
And Brandon, actually, fantastic call out. We did just release a developer interview with the team over at Banjo Toad Studio talking about 1,000 Cuts. It is another Kickstarter game, and huge congratulations to Banjo Toad as well, because they did pass their goal of $10,000. So the game is fully funded. Now they're working towards some of the stretch goals. But again, awesome interview. I'll go ahead, link it above, link it
Great
below.
Interview.
Everyone go ahead and check that out if you are interested. But that's it, gentlemen. That is Indie Love of the Week. So let's wrap up there, and let's close things off with our top 5 favorite Xbox 360 games.
Here we go.
Oh, buddy. There's going to be some fights.
Oh.
And a lot of overlap. A lot of overlap.
I don't know. You guys haven't seen my list.
I feel like me and Erik are going to finish with the same first. So we'll see.
Yep.
I felt that answer. I think we literally just confirmed. But we also don't know. Well, Mike will tell all that.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
All right, everybody, it is time for a brand new and most likely slightly controversial top 5 in honor of Microsoft shutting down the Xbox 360 digital store. We are going to be going through RIP. Yes, indeed, Erik. We will be going through our top 5 Xbox 360 games. I don't know if we hit the mark, because looking at our list, I think we actually, a bunch of them are cross-platform games, but hey, we're going to do what we're going to do. I will kick things off just to get the ball rolling, and then Brandon, Erik, who would you like to take second?
I have no problem finishing last.
Oh, okay.
Okay, all right. I'm
a generous lover.
I can get behind
Finish
that.
after me.
All right, gentlemen. So
always
coming in on my number,
no pun intended.
My number 5, gentlemen, is Batman: Arkham City.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, this one's a pretty safe bet.
Pretty safe bet. So obviously before this we got Arkham Asylum, and then the second game in the trilogy is Arkham City, and it just basically took everything that Arkham Asylum did amazingly, might I add, and just ramped up the level. This was
like the
Arkham
opinion.
The Arkham games were the ones that put that style of combat on the map, and now it is being copied for, I would say, what, 10 years? How long has this game been out? Games like Spider-Man taking that same
15?
style of combat, and many others. So again, crazy ass boss fights. You got the Mr. Freeze fight where he learns each of your techniques, so then you have to kind of keep switching up the style. Two-Face, all of the different enemies, and then just being able to explore Arkham, like, super amazing. The first one was confined just into the asylum, where this one is full open world. You're able to zip line through everything, and just an absolute fantastic game for anyone who hasn't played it.
Yeah, and one of the
Definitely.
first licensed games to establish that licensed games can go hard if you just do them well.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
1,000%. So that is my number 5. Eric, what do you got for yours, good sir?
Number 5, and I am aghast that this is number 5 on the list. So, preface. I tried to go with just exclusives, games that came out on either for Microsoft or for Xbox 360. Some of these games on my list eventually became cross-platform or were re-released on different platforms, but when they came out, they were just for the 360 or for Microsoft. So my first game, and it was a Microsoft exclusive, BioShock at number 5.
Oh, that was on my list, man.
The original one?
The original BioShock.
Oh, I was torn between BioShock or BioShock Infinite. It was on my short list.
Yeah, but BioShock, it kind of took what was happening with FPS games at the time and gave you like a proper FPS RPG almost, right? It really gave you a
100%.
great story. Well, I mean, yeah, the story was fucking awesome. I can't even. It's not infinite story, but it was still a solid story, solid gameplay,
Unique
creepy
world.
in all the right ways, kept you moving in all the right ways. It was a very, very entertaining game and one of the better FPSs of that decade, really, in my opinion. So
Still
yeah,
today,
BioShock.
I'd say it still hits harder than a lot of FPSs that come out now.
Absolutely. I mean, it
BioShock's
sort of
fucking
set the stage
filthy.
for games like Skyrim, right? Like the way that you use your hands and weapons.
Spoiler alert, Skyrim's coming into Eric's top 5. Like the 5th time you mentioned it.
No, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, BioShock is my number 5.
Yeah,
Oh,
great
Brandon.
freaking trailer too. This trailer came out 16 years ago.
It was so good. BioShock really did mindfuck you and just was an absolute revelation for single player FPS games.
Yeah.
This was like one of the last, not one of the last, but one of the big standouts of single player great FPS games. 100%. I'm glad you mentioned it. Because unfortunately, that was on my short list, but you will have to wait to see if it made it to my final list. But spoiler alert, it didn't. It remains on the short list. But for my number 5, we have, it starts with one of my favorite things on planet Earth that never existed. Dragon's Age Origins, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Now, this was an RPG back when Xbox used to really fuck with, like, BioWare was on point.
When BioWare was at its peak. Yep.
Exactly. BioWare was actually a reputable company back then. And it's just like, oh my God. Just when this came out, it was just out of nowhere. And just the story was fucking awesome. The combat was amazing. Everything about it was just so good. And I want to say this is one of the most replayed RPGs I've ever owned. Like, I've probably played this a dozen times, and the only game for me, like, I'm normally like a dual wield weapon heavy motherfucker, like just like hack and slash. Also, Need Morrigan from the trailer.
Buddy.
My original love.
So spice.
So spice. And those like barely 3D graphics.
3D enough.
Yeah, exactly enough. But this was the one game where Rogue to me was the most fun. Like, I fucking love playing a Rogue in Dragon Age. I don't like it in pretty much any other game, but oh yeah. Speaking of the slutty trailer, not to mention that, like, the multiple romances that you could do and just like shove your dick in anything, like that was edgy for back then, man. Like this game just did things with RPGs that nobody else was really doing. Really laid a foundation for just medieval RPGs and fucking dragons up. Oh, so cool.
Gentlemen, coming in 4th spot on my side of things, we have the one and the only Mr. Ryu Hayabusa with Ninja Gaiden 2.
Oh,
Yep.
Filthy game.
Absolutely.
Almost threw it on my list for our
Yeah.
good friend Michael Capello.
Absolutely. I believe that is this game, although I do absolutely love this game, I do think a big part of it is the nostalgia of playing this with Mr. Capello, as well as just the sheer hatred of watching him fail over and over. But
honestly, this was the grandfather of Soulsborne. Like,
yeah.
I would say.
Like, yeah, like pure hack and slash Soulsborne of just like,
wow, I never thought about it that way.
Yeah, like honestly, until right now, I never did either. But these games were fucking hard at points. Like as my 10-year-old brain, I was stuck on a boss for months.
Yeah. So this game took everything that the first Ninja Gaiden did, and again, just absolutely amped it up. Not only do you have your dragon sword, but then the one weapon that basically got me through the game is the dragon claw, which is like you become Wolverine more or less. There's that. You're just absolutely crushing through hordes of enemies. You got big spooky spider people, and Ninja Gaiden 2. Once again, it's one of those games that just so many memories of us playing with my friend with Mike, and just like coming home from school, playing that one, throwing it on, taking turns of like, all right, you die, we switch controllers, playing through it. But it is just one of those games that if you haven't played any of the Ninja Gaiden ones, I do think 2 is probably your best bet. 3 was really crappy. 1 is good, but I don't think it aged that well. Yeah. And number 2, again, I think you're kind of getting the best of both worlds. So for sure, waiting to see if we do get another iteration of the Ninja Gaiden series made by Team Ninja. So they've gone ahead. They've actually stopped making most of those ones there, but now switched over to series like Neo, which Brandon, I know you are a big fan of. Neo, and then they also did Wulong Final Destiny that came out not too long ago.
Still in my backlog.
And Rise of Ronin. Brandon, you never got Rise of Ronin, did you?
No, that's on my wish list. Because it looked like a really fun game, and the reviews were actually quite decent, just with minor gripes, but still claimed as a very excellent game.
Yeah.
But on Neo, I've said it before, and I'll say it again for 1,000 times. Neo 2 is easily the best Soulsborne game made that is not From Software. Like not OG Dark Souls, Demon Souls. There is no close competitor to Neo 2. Damn. Neo 1 was cool. Neo 2 did a lot better. It's fucking
hot take.
Dialed in.
Definitely hot take.
I don't even know if that's that hot.
I don't think it's hot take. I think it's just high praise.
Yeah, but honestly, and Wukong, Wulong, sorry. I started it. I did I started up a folder for first 5, and it was nowhere near as good as Neo 2. Like not even on the same level.
Damn.
But I will finish it eventually.
Yeah.
It's in my backlog, hell.
All right, Erik, you're up, buddy. 4th spot.
All right. My number 4. And again, I'm shocked to find this at number 4 on a list. I was kind of torn between Gears of War 2 and Gears of War 3. Because Gears 2 brought in the Horde mode, and Horde mode was fucking unbelievable. It was some of the best couch co-op I've ever participated in. But Gears 3 gave you a slightly better story and more refined gameplay altogether. So I'm putting Gears 3 as my number 4 spot.
As you should. Gears 3, man, the storyline, that's what really does it for me on Gears 3.
Totally.
The storyline. I also tried to avoid on my list anything like Gears. You could easily put 1, 2, or 3 in this list, and you could.
That's the problem, right?
So I picked.
But I think
I picked the
only
1.
2 and 3 were on this console.
Yes, Gears of War 1 was original, like OG Xbox.
Yeah,
but I always in my list I did one or the other type of thing, so that you didn't have all right Gears 3 then Gears 2. But I would agree, man. Gears 3, the story coming to the epic conclusion of how things roll out, and the incredible just human moments that you get with the characters. that have just basically been bulldozers this whole franchise.
And more than you would have expected from a game that looked as, brutal as that, right?
Yeah.
Like it was such a touching story.
100%.
So
Dude,
fucking real, man.
I read the books along with the game series.
Oh, cool.
And the books they made the game that much better because you got all the storyline and backstory and
Knew the
everything
lore.
from the books that literally fell in line with the game itself. So by the time I got to the third game, I was just unreal. Ready to get like fucking cogs tattooed on my chest, except that would be a joke. Yeah.
I actually know someone who has a Gears of War tattoo.
I
Probably
mean,
also drives a Jeep.
yeah. Yeah. But that makes sense, man. Number 4.
Bren, I'm looking
that.
forward to seeing where you have that on your list. But yeah, what's your number 4?
Yeah, spoiler alert. Gears of War 3 is on my list.
Yeah.
But my number 4 is actually the controversial take on this one is it's Halo 3.
Ooh.
Yeah, Halo 3 is low on my top 5, some would say.
Surprising.
Yeah, but not so surprising when you see the rest of them.
And
yeah, Halo 3 is kind of similar, right? Like Halo 1, Combat Evolved, the original Xbox, absolutely fucking
phenomenal.
Changed the game, unreal.
Changed the whole landscape for FPS games.
Agreed. And just even the fact that I remember the selling point at the beginning when I walked into EB as a little like 12-year-old or whatever, and like if you shoot the rock and you come back at the end of the level, that rock stays with bullet holes in it. It's like that's fucking mind blowing. But then
Definitely
Halo 2 came out, and much to what you're saying with Horde mode with Gears of War 2, Halo 2 introduced online multiplayer FPS to the world, essentially.
Yep.
Like not excluding Counter-Strikes, like putting it towards consoles. This was the first console game that really did Xbox Live, fucking people up in lobbies, nut drops, which still happen to this day when you kneel on someone's face after you kill them.
Yep.
Still from Halo 2.
Invented that.
Yeah. But still, when it comes to Halo 3, I'm like, all right, you know what? Halo 2, every time I would go back and replay the single player, did not age well. And I remember just every time I played it, just wasn't very great. I never had that much fun playing the single player again. But Halo 3 slaps. Just story, kind of epic conclusion. Just, I don't know. Just to me, it was kind of like the refinement points of everything. And so when I compare 2 to 3, I think 3, they already had the groundwork for the multiplayer online setup. So they maybe got to spend a little bit more time on the single player. And that was reflected in the quality of single player, which is what I'm basing it on.
I would also say, though, and we may touch upon it later in my list, Halo 3, I think, was the best multiplayer that Halo had done.
Reach, I think, actually claims that title.
So we'll discuss that at some point further in my list.
Yes, you can.
All right, boys. I'm gonna dive in then for my number 3. I'm clearly this topic is coming back up, but okay. So my number 3 is honestly, I'm not gonna even say
DOA beach volleyball.
That's honorable mentions. This one I'm actually not even gonna say is like again one of my favorites, but I do have to add it just for the significance of what it brought to Xbox and everything. Honestly, what it brought to indie games, I would say. So I'm going with Castle Crashers. It is an absolutely fantastic little beat 'em up 4-player co-op game. But this one was
number 3.
Yeah, bro.
I'm just gonna say it. Number 3. This is not honorable mentions.
No, I was thinking about it, but it's just there's so much
indie love
impact.
Mike we're talking about.
There's impact. So
I support you in most of your endeavors, man. But
it is part of the Xbox Live summer of arcade and games like this, games like Fez and Braid, and those games that really, really took indie games from not being part of the scene at all. And Microsoft, I do think, played a really big part about bringing indie studios and indie devs and that being a tangible source of income and being able to make a career out of it and all that. And again, I do think that Castle Crashers was one of those games that really led the full steam ahead and kind of led that there. So again, it's a great game. It's a fantastic beat 'em up game, and so I put that as my number 3. Even if you don't like it, Brandon, S&D, it's mine. That's not yours.
Choke on my list, Brandon. I get that. Honestly, that was back in the good guy Xbox stage, where they made a huge push at when they were on top in their pinnacle of power, as 360 was dominating in every aspect.
Yeah,
they're like, you know what, guys, indie love. Like, they were the original guys to be like, we love
really
indie games
for sure.
Yeah, in all of their showcases, they would dedicate 10-15 minutes to just, here is a shitload of indie games you should all check out. And it was just gamers first, like bringing up like gamers that were trying to make games. Like, it was such a good move for helping out the little guy. And along the way, they lost it. Well, they lost it.
Yeah,
because they just got beat for years.
With the online store that the 360 had, they were the first console really to not just promote games with ads, but within their console, right? So these games by indie developers actually had a chance to be noticed by people.
For sure. They had the so that's what they kicked off the Xbox Live Arcade, which is the one there. It's literally like its own its own storefront for games, both of like major publishers, but honestly just more so focused on independent game developers, games that are between $5 and $20, and like that's perfectly fine, right? And before you never got much of that in the PlayStation stores or anything else. So
never.
Again, it launched a bunch of absolutely huge franchises, and just like the Xbox Arcade was awesome, man.
Yeah, where's that stepdad? I want him back. He was good, you know. Like, let's get him back on the field.
That's your mouth. All right, Erik, you're up, big guy.
Yeah, that stepdad died with Halo 2 online support. My number 3 is another 360 exclusive, Fable 2.
Knew it.
Oh, see, that almost made it on my list as well. It made it to the honorable mentions.
So obviously your list is trash then if Fable didn't make it to your list.
Well, because Fable 2 was broken with the time clock. Once you figured out you could switch your Xbox's time clock forward and make infinite money, the game really lost all meaning for me.
Oh, man.
So I did it to myself.
Never did that.
You never did that?
No, I didn't.
Oh, man.
Didn't even know about that.
Yeah, so if you bought all the storefronts, like, because you know how in Fable 2 you could buy the stores and like make money off them, you could just increase your Xbox clock 30 years and you just got hundreds of millions of dollars. And you just bought everything.
Nerd, Brandon, ruining games for yourself.
Ruin everything.
I went to school with a lot of Asian kids. I'm just saying. I had a lot of insight.
We all know.
Hey, Manager Toad, I'm just speaking facts here. I didn't come up with that. I just know that when I went to school and I was like one of 5 white people in the class, and they're all like, wait, you haven't done this? Like, are you fucking stupid? I'm like, apparently I am.
Erik, please continue.
Toad. So anybody who plays RPGs and was playing them back in the Xbox days knows that Fable was a great game. Great RPG.
Game.
I'm not going to say it really changed anything about RPGs, but it gave you such a fresh take, a fresh universe, great story, great gameplay. And Fable 2 was just a huge step up on something that was already fantastic. It gave you more customization, more depth in that already deep and fun story. The graphic upgrade from Fable 1 to Fable 2 was outstanding. People still called you Chicken Chaser if you kicked chickens. It was just an unbelievable game with an unbelievable story. And just like I've said about the Zelda franchise, Fable has given me everything I've wanted from the RPG category and has changed me as a gamer and really directed what I look for in a proper RPG. So I couldn't not put Fable 2 in my top 5 for this category. Brandon, off to you. What's your number 3? Yeah,
because even I remember Fable 1 just being like the grass grows, and that was a huge thing. And
Like I'm still waiting for Fable 3, man. I'd buy an Xbox for Fable 3.
It's coming out. They have the trailers for it with the wonky ass
It's
looking
been
lady.
coming out for like 8-9 years. Yeah,
I say we already talked about it. Senua's Saga 2 was coming out 5 years ago.
That's fair. That's fair. My only gripe with Fable is I feel like Peter Molyneux has always promised the world and delivered like nothing. So it's it is what it is, boys. But Brando, what do you got for us for your
it has pitfalls, including its final boss fight?
What do you got for us for your number 3?
Fair.
Clearly not going to be better than Castle Crashers, but that's okay.
Yeah, we'll see. So we've already addressed that. I put Halo 3 at number 4. So the yin to the yang, Gears of War 3 is my number 3.
There it is. Yeah.
I place it higher than Halo because probably the fact that I read the books, so I was so much more invested in the story.
Just a fucking nerd.
Yeah, 100%. Like it's like if I didn't play football and all that other stuff, I would have died a virgin in high school. Like it's just but at this point the books just gave so much background, so much more depth to the characters, and it's been 15 years, so I don't feel bad saying it, but at the end when Marcus Phoenix is basically just like, for lack of better words, bawling his eyes out because it's over, and like you could just see a man that's just
feel that with him.
Yeah, because it's just been death after traumatic experience, after murder, after demon fucking lizard shooting shit at you, Grom shoving his pistol up your ass, like everything. Like you just like see this guy that's like, it's fucking over, and he crumbles as a human and just like allows his guard down, and it's just such a human experience. The story, that's why it just hits so hard, and it just oh my god, it's just so good. I don't know, the franchise itself just hits so many moments.
Trilogy.
Yeah, amazing trilogy for just a meat tank game of just cover shooting that like was such a fun time at the time, where you were almost doing like just nothing but cover shooting with like
a quick
power
chainsaw
reloads
when they come too close.
Yeah. Oh god, that chainsaw, revolutionary. And that's it's so good, and this was just such a perfect culmination of the ending, and just everything was done, and it never needed to be talked about again. And then they just kept going. It just kept shitting on the past, and they should not have done it. They should just come up with a good idea, or in my opinion, instead of going forward in time after they finish the fucking story, they should have gone back in time and be like, all right, here's Marcus Phoenix, as a recruit, and this is an action RPG where you do boot camp, you do missions, you gain experience, you funnel points, and like kind of adapted a more modern take on the game franchise. And instead of going against the grubs, maybe have a 2-part series where the ending is D-Day, and that's the final missions, where you've been fighting against the resistance and like the Civil War the whole time, like killing your fellow man or whatever. And then when grubs show up on the fucking second part of the game on D-Day, which they talk about like crazy, that's your follow-up games, not 4 and 5.
Or if you want a real hot take, just leave the fucking trilogy alone. Let the franchise die in its fucking beautiful splendor. Let it have its moment in time, and just fucking make something new.
No, I'm excited.
I'm excited even hotter take.
I'm excited for New Gears.
Well, so even hotter take, metaphorically and literally, Master Chief falls through a portal. Him and Marcus Phoenix become a gay couple that are super powered, and they are the ultimate force in the universe of just the ultimate man couple. That is inclusive, Mike. It is a progressive thought. As Manager Toad. But can you imagine?
Manager Toad, go away. This is 2024. Come on.
That's why they had so much anger. And Master Chief is basically banging a computer program. Like, it's just they were missing something. They need. Okay. Also, I was about to take that farther, and even I'm gonna go too far. But
already
hot take, or just come up with a Smash Bros equivalent for Xbox and just have Marcus Phoenix as a legacy character, Master Chief as a legacy character, into a battle royale like Smash Bros style game, which would be super fun.
Yeah, actually, Xbox doesn't need that.
They don't not need it.
Yes.
All right. Either way, moving on to number 2.
My number 2, gentlemen, I don't think y'all are gonna be expecting this one, but I'm excited about it.
Hate
I'm
it
not gonna
already.
lie to you.
DA beat Ballboy.
I pulled a last minute audible on this one. Initially, I was gonna put Fight Night Champions because it's just a fucking sick ass game, and
that makes sense with your story too.
Yeah. So I was like, I'm gonna do Fight Night Champions. It's an amazing game. Probably one of the best. Well, it's the best boxing game on 360. Best boxing game of the last 10 years. The whole kit and caboodle. But gentlemen, I have to go with something a little bit different, and I'm time to rock out with my cock up. But it is time for Guitar Hero 2.
So you didn't even do number 3?
No, bro.
You troglodyte.
3 almost made my list.
So I technically had Guitar Hero 2 / Rock Band because I was just gonna cheat, but then I was like, you know what, I got it. Like Rock Band was incredible. Rock Band playing with that with your friends, it was just like there was nothing like it. You got the drums and the singing and the whole thing, which is freaking awesome. But Guitar Hero 2,
Rock Band was the inferior for guitar.
Yeah,
like vastly inferior.
Yeah,
1000%.
But the drums was something special.
Yeah, that's why they got it. You could be bass, which was nobody wanted to be bass. It was shit. Drums were awesome. Guitar was infuriatingly bad for the UI, or the response.
Yeah,
and
like after Guitar Hero came through,
yeah, like it was fine for low level missions, but once you got to expert, it was just like, all right, man, like what are you even doing here?
Yeah. Well, boys, Guitar Hero 2, it gave us Carry On, Our Wayward Son. We got Killin' in the Name of by Rage Against the Machine. Message in a Bottle by The Police. Monkey Wrench, Foo Fighters. But most importantly, gentlemen, it gave us
Hangar 19.
Freebird.
Yeah.
So it had some absolute fucking bangers. And I know they tried to bring back Guitar Hero. I do truly believe that Guitar Hero will be a game of the ages. Like it is a game of its time, and I don't think they're ever going to be able to recreate that magic. They've tried again.
Never.
We also had amazing things like DJ Hero, if you guys remember that one. Rock Band. They still actually do have Rocksmith, the one from Ubisoft, but that one they actually teach you how to play a real guitar, which is actually pretty cool.
Lame.
Yeah. It's
give me my buttons, bro.
But yo,
honestly,
Guitar Hero 2, man, fucking great game. That's gonna be my number 2 favorite Xbox 360 game. Thank you.
Number 2 was good. Number 3 was definitely like a more polished, like slightly better version with like the online. You could download songs from the internet, and it was kind of the beginning of the end, where you could get they had the Master Chief, like the Halo intro, and you could get those epic guitar solos just amplified. Dragon Force, Through the Fire and the Storm.
Say, through the Fire and the Flames. That was 3, or was that 1?
That was 3.
Was it 3 or 1?
Definitely 3. It's 100% 3.
Yeah, okay.
You're absolutely off your rockers. If
yes,
you think it's
it is. It is 3.
Like,
it is a bonus song.
Way far apart. But yeah, 3 was definitely better in my opinion. But 2 did break that mold to be like, we are like Guitar Hero was a thing because of 2.
Yes.
And I still remember being at a party and watching a guy who was also a Laser Quest champion at the time. Who he played Hangar 19 by Megadeth without looking at the screen on expert. He turned and faced us and played it, and I have never seen something so impressive get so little female attention at the party. Like literally, he thought he was the shit. Every girl in the room is just like, and just every guy in the room. It's like getting huge at the gym, you know?
Yeah.
Like girls don't care, guys do, and the rest of the guys like, that's fucking sick. Oh my god. And that was it. It's just
for the boys, man.
Yeah. Oh god, that's a fun memory.
It's amazing. That is amazing. All right, so that is my number 2. Erik, you're up, big boy.
Okay, my number 2 is here to slap Brandon in the face. Halo Reach.
Oh, you double tapped, you motherfucker.
It was between Halo 3 and Halo Reach, and I think what Halo 3 did was really nail down the multiplayer. Like Halo 2 brought it. Halo 3 just made it something so refined, so excellent. And Halo Reach didn't really make the multiplayer any better, except for the fact that it gave you customization. And so I'm a customization fiend. And that, aside from the story, which Reach gave you a better, maybe not a better story than 3, but a fresh take on the Halo franchise. Yeah, like a whole new story within itself. Whereas Halo 1, 2, and 3 was one story combined. Reach gave you one big, beautiful story and just an incredible multiplayer experience with so much to strive toward with the customization that
Hayabusa
Reach,
armor. So
yeah,
good.
oh,
Yeah.
so cool. That's the Optimus Prime looking armor. Fucking
Yeah,
loved it.
exactly.
Yeah.
Fucking Optimus Prime Ninja.
Yeah.
So good.
So Reach just beat out Halo 3 for me. But man, all of those games, that whole series for me just holds such a special place in my heart because I played them all with my brothers and I had a great time with all of them. But
Yeah.
end of the day, I'm gonna drop it on Reach. Reach was fucking unreal. That's my number 2.
I get that. That's honestly 3 was the culmination of the story of the main trilogy. But when you come to multiplayer, Reach took what was perfect and then gave you sprinkles. Like
That's it.
It's just like you didn't need to do this.
You
It's
already
already
had the
perfect.
cake, but now it has icing. Well, fuck it.
Yeah,
May as well.
exactly. Oh,
Yeah.
slap some icing on that motherfucker.
Oh,
And
buddy.
it was so good. So I can't even be mad at it.
Yep.
I only went with 3 over Reach because of just the OG story, and that's why that's why I pulled back and just went for
Yeah.
that. So I ain't mad at it, man. I'm glad somebody said it.
If there wasn't customization, 3 would have taken it for me, but Reach
Yeah.
just gave you that little bit extra.
Reach.
Hammered it home.
The sprinkles. All right, Brandon.
Brandon, what's your very fucking awful number 2?
Oh, buddy. This one is not on any of your honorable mentions. Not even on your
DOA.
fucking radar.
It better be
Mhm.
DOA.
Beach volleyball? For when your internet was out. You had CG giant anime boobs. No, number 2 for me is actually, it would make perfect sense. Dark Souls.
Oh, God. Right. That came out on 360.
Came out on
Really?
360. The
Oh,
absolute
wow.
pinnacle of all gaming for map design, in my opinion. I have never experienced a game to date that had a better map than Dark Souls. And what I mean by that, for anyone that doesn't know, say you start at the very beginning of the game. Say you start, let's see, what's the best way to do it? Okay, right here, for people who can see. You start here in the middle. Now, where you start is you go on this epic journey of all this shit, and then boom, end up all go around. You come underneath, and you're just, everything is just a 360 map. It's just, I can't even describe the complexities and how they brought that map in together. It also
like a 3D
introduced
Metroidvania.
honestly,
like the
that's
map.
probably actually, I think you just destroyed my argument. I think you just did it perfectly. That is actually the perfect way to describe it. It is a 3D Metroidvania map. They also introduced tail slashing. So hear me out on this. In Dark Souls, and all Soulsborne games from made by From Software, there's always been a strong whole just climate of boss-based weapons. You kill a boss, you get a choice of different weapons, spells that you can only get from that boss.
Right.
The bosses in Dark Souls, you could cut off tails, none of their body parts, but tails specifically, and that tail would give you a piece to make a special boss weapon that was separate than the other boss weapons you could get from killing the main boss. And if you didn't cut that tail off effectively, you weren't getting that weapon ever. And some of those tail weapons were fucking unreal. Like things like that just hadn't really been done. And like actual anatomy cutoffs that yielded special rewards.
It gives you that sort of like Final Fantasy secret bonus if you know what you're doing, right? Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
And that, to me, it also introduced a lot of quality of life mechanics for Soulsborne games that went from Demon Souls, which was just outrageously difficult in what it would do. Like you die, you lose half your health until permanently almost until you could reclaim the materials to regain your full soul. But then you also lost all your experience. You go to the beginning of the level, all this other shit. Dark Souls really brought in quality of life and also the ability to sell items, which was really huge. Which also came in pretty late game when you meet this demon that's about to eat you, you think, and you're going to die. But then it turns out it's like, no, I'm a friendly dragon. I just want to eat your shit and turn it into souls. And you're just like, yes, take my shit. It's so good. I think that also introduced Crow where literally you could go into a hidden character area where it was just like a guy hiding in a tree, and you'd just be like, I'm scared, leave me the fuck alone. But if you dropped a present for him, depending on what it was, and then you left the game, like you exited the game and came back and you reloaded in the same spot, you would get secret items. Like it was just there
Oh,
were
cool.
so
Didn't even know
many,
that.
yeah, there's so many complexities to it, and very like Kojima like vibes of just outside interactions in the gameplay. The game was outrageously good and just really cemented the franchise of Soulsborne as a whole. Like Demon Souls started it. These guys, like same company, but they perfected their art and just released something that just absolute perfection.
Dark Souls is your favorite of the franchise, right?
Tough
Ooh.
call. Honestly,
In
because
30
also
seconds
you
or
got to
less,
take
Brandon.
into
In
it.
30 seconds or less.
Yeah. No, at the end of the day, Elden Ring was still the culmination of perfection.
Okay.
Like it's like looking at the original Zelda versus modern day Zeldas, like Breath of the Wild. Without that, you don't get this. And as much
Right.
as that was incredible, you got this from that. And I think Dark Souls, I still stand by it. Nothing has ever come close to the map. The map to me, the mind-blowing moments, which I've never said in a game ever. Like whoever gets impressed by the fucking map. You know what I mean? Like not for the size of it, but the design. Who's
Yeah.
impressed with that? I've never been impressed by that before or again. It's just this was the only game that I'm like, wow, like who came up with this? This is incredible. And yeah, I'm sure that world would collapse if it existed in real life. Like if you put it into a real life physics thing, it would just crumple and be like, no, this doesn't exist.
No
But
structural support.
none. And
Yeah.
it just made perfect sense though. To me, it had to be on the list. And I could not put it at number 1. It didn't feel right putting it at number 5. And I think it was a Mike type of situation where this to me was originally at number like 4 or 5 for another game. And then I just 180'd and pulled that game out into honorable mentions and to just kicked it to the curb and put it at number 2.
Neat.
I'm excited to hear what your number 1 is.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's not gonna be that surprising.
All right, gentlemen. So with that is, I guess, our 5 through 2. So let's wrap things up. I think all of us have a handful of honorable mentions. So I'm not going to dive too
100%.
deep into mine because, like I said, I do have a bunch of them. But I will list them off. So some of my honorable mentions, boys: Lost Planet. Fantastic.
Yeah, that was a solid game.
Yeah, Lost Planet, Capcom, amazing game. I think this one is actually my only Xbox exclusive. Condemned 2. Brandon, you ever play Condemned?
That sounds really familiar.
It's the first person super spooky game. You're trying to catch like a serial killer.
It sounds really familiar, but I cannot put my finger on it, actually.
All right, I'll send you some videos after. Condemned 2, awesome. I got Burnout Legends and Burnout Paradise.
Yep.
Good games.
Rayman Legends, fantastic platformer.
So good.
Super Meat Boy, also like S tier fucking arcade game. And then I moved Fight Night Champions into my honorable mention, and then lastly on my honorable mention, BioShock Infinite is that one is the BioShock that I am going to be going with because again they're all amazing. 1, 2,
So good.
Infinite, like they're fantastic games, but Infinite I do think about from time to time. It's like, I do really want to dive into that, but I also feel like I don't want to mess around with my my memory of it. I feel like it's so good, so treasured, and if I dive back in, I don't know if it's gonna hold up. So
I will tell you,
I think it will.
I will tell you, when I played Infinite the first time, I did not like it. I did not think it was very good, and I just glossed over it. I replayed it maybe 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, and I'm like, I was an absolute idiot. This game is fucking magical and perfect, and it holds up. It's really good still to this day.
Sick. Okay, maybe I will. Yeah. Maybe I will check it out.
Speaks to its grandeur.
Yeah. Well, speaking about games that hold up and games to their grandeur, gentlemen, my number 1 that I will be rocking with is the one and only Far Cry 3.
This was on my list too until shit happens.
It got moved out. Okay, so Far Cry
this is honorable mentions.
I know Brandon joins me in my love of Far Cry 3. It is the first Far Cry game that I really got into. Again, it's very different from number 1 and number 2, but the first game that really got me into these Ubisoft style of games. It was also one of my first I think it was one of my first platinums as well. Like, just played the absolute shit out of this game. Of course, there is Voss, one of the greatest video game enemies and villains of all time. But just like, at that time, the Ubisoft formula of running around, clearing out the maps, doing all the things that we are so used to doing wasn't as prominent. It was still quite new to it, and Far Cry was just such a perfect land and world to explore and gut animals and get the tattoos and get your tattoos and level up, in the story and the ending and just everything about it was just such an incredible video game experience from start to finish. So when I saw that, again, this was originally released on 360, obviously they had the Blood Dragon DLC that came along with it, which was fantastic in its own right. But no, Far Cry 3, I couldn't help but put it up there. Just squeaked out DOA Extreme Beach Volleyball 2. But incredible game. I had to put it as my number 1, and again, I regret nothing. Far Cry
Very
3,
valid.
10 out of 10.
I cannot argue. This was on when we did the top 5 video game moments of history, like the most impactful moments in gaming. This was in my top 5.
Yeah.
Like, this was one of the most impactful moments of any game I've ever played from the beginning of this game. So
yeah,
I ain't mad at it, Mike.
Thanks, brother.
I ain't mad at it.
Thank you, my dude. All right, Brando, what do you got for your honorable mentions? And then let's dive into your numero uno, my man.
Erik.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
Erik. Sorry, apologize.
Oh.
Apologies.
Oh my God, the rudeness! How dare you?
Handle your shit, Mike.
I am going to drop one of my honorable mentions off of my list because I'm pretty sure it's going to be Brandon's number 1. So my honorable mentions are going to be the non-exclusives that came out on the 360. So we've got COD, Modern Warfare. So that's Call of Duty 4.
Shit.
Fucking incredible game. Love that
Garbage.
fucking game.
Get out of here.
Put too much time into that game. Mike touched on Arkham City. I've got Batman Arkham Asylum. Just started that franchise off hot. It's fucking incredible. Red Dead Redemption.
Okay, yeah.
I think that's enough said. Like, it was a brilliant game. It gave us a reason to have Red Dead 2, which is some people's number 1 game of all time. Fallout 3, because got to be probably the best of all the Fallouts, at least in my opinion. It was the 1 and 2.
Contender.
Yeah, like the Far Cries. Fallout 1 and 2, kind of strange. Not really the Fallout we're used to. Not the same formula. And 3 was just fucking unreal. It was something special when it came out. And then I'm going to drop off my last honorable mention because I think we're going to hear about it. But my number 1 was originally an Xbox exclusive. Ended up getting released for everything else as time went on. Well, Xbox and PlayStation. Mass Effect 2. The Mass Effect franchise is top 3 for me of all time. And Mass Effect 2 was, in my opinion, the best of the first 3 games. Well, no, it's only the 3 games. Did they do a 4th game?
No, there's
Andromeda.
Andromeda, yeah.
Yeah. Hard mid.
Yeah. Doesn't count. Doesn't get on my list.
Still enjoyable, but yeah.
Unreal game. I've played it, God, too many times, and I've loved it every single time. And again, it comes back to them mastering the formula that they built in the first game and giving you so much more customization, whether it was weapons or armor, and just building upon an already incredible story and giving you something completely new and fresh to work with. Mass Effect 2 was just unreal. Oh, and such spice.
I was about to say, speaking of
Miranda,
unreal, Miranda's fat butt is just outrageous.
But I was always more of a Jack guy myself. That tattooed, shaved head, sorry. So spice.
Yeah, fair enough. She would definitely take you for a ride. You'd never forget.
Oh, buddy. Yep.
She may literally bite your dick off, but it would be a good time.
No, of all the games that came out on the Xbox 360, and there were tons of gems, some of the best games of that era. Mass Effect 2 being an exclusive to Microsoft, to Xbox at that point, was, to me, if I didn't have a 360 and I'd played Mass Effect 1, that would have been a console seller right there. I would have
100%.
had to buy it just for that game.
This was back in BioWare's heyday. Like when
Yeah.
BioWare was still firing on all cylinders and hadn't
Yep.
been absolutely just raped by EA
Yeah.
and like just ruined. So this was back in the good old days, man. I fully support this decision.
Thank you. But Brandon, give us your HMs, and I gotta hear your number one because I think I know what it is.
Yeah. So honestly, some of the honorable mentions have already been mentioned, obviously, like BioShock and like you've heard me talk about it enough. The ones that you guys already mentioned, I'm not going to bother.
Yeah.
But one that we are all forgetting, and Eric, I'm ashamed that you did not mention this. Diablo 3, you insolent fuck.
Fair.
Honestly, Diablo 3 was actually my number 4 for a while because what game have you played for a decade apart and still been happy with? Like we were playing this up until Diablo 4 came out.
That was such a PS4 game for me, though. I don't even think about it being an Xbox title.
Yeah, but it went from PC to 360 and then carried on. So I won't go too hard on that. But Diablo 3, we shall be ashamed. But it's
such
amazing.
A good game. Yeah.
Skyrim, like.
Okay. I thought Skyrim was going to be your number one. That was another honorable mention. It would have been my number one if it was exclusive.
We already exchanged looks. I think we already know. Or I've known what your number one was since we started, and I was not wrong. Skyrim, obviously incredible.
So good.
Dead Space,
absolutely
one of the best survival horror games ever made.
I'm just
bar none. Also, just to keep it rolling, so we don't go too far onto this. How did we not mention the best Assassin's Creed game ever made?
Black Flag.
Guys, we fucking suck.
Yep.
Right?
Well, some of us, but I'm kidding. And then also, speaking of sucking, the Stick of Truth, South Park, showing us that
was a 360 game?
It was a 360 game.
Damn.
South Park and the Stick of Truth. But apart from the obvious like low punching and like satire and like offensive things, the story was amazing.
Yeah.
The animation was like watching a South Park episode. It literally just looked like you were watching the South Park movie, but you were playing it.
It was a great RPG.
Game. Yeah. The classes were amazing. The skill building was amazing. The weapons, the secret thing, like everything about that game was so good.
100%.
Very underrated, forgotten game at this point. Yeah. But what absolutely decimated all and was never a question for me, which I knew the second we locked eyes when we talked about this, Eric. For me, it is Mass Effect 2 as well.
Oh, fucking A. Okay. I thought it was, but you were leading me so far away. I thought it was going to be Skyrim. Holy fuck.
No,
there we go.
There was never a question. Mass Effect 2, without doubt, is the best. Like we've talked about it before. Mass Effect 1 is also incredible, but as a whole, Mass Effect 2 is the pinnacle of the franchise. The absolute 100%. Best. And if I wanted to rank them appropriately, it'd be like Mass Effect 2, number 2 on my list is number 1. Yep. And then like, honestly, 3 would probably still be an honorable mention, even though it was amazing. 10 years later, it was amazing.
But it's not 2. Like 2, what?
No,
1
2
and
is
2
perfect.
Were the like that? Those two alone were their own story. Like each game was its own story, start to finish. But they worked with each other so well. You didn't need a third. Sure, you get your conclusion with a third, but Mass Effect 2 was such a conclusive game. Sure, it left you a little open-ended, but it was such a conclusive game, start to finish, and just flawless.
Well, and it also just really peaked that decision making.
Like BioWare decision making.
Yeah, because a lot of games talked a big game about, all right, your decisions matter. There's 5 different endings. But guess what? It's not Mass Effect 2, where if you fuck up, everybody dies. Like, you could literally just fail and you die and everything is over. It's just...
We were talking about it in the last episode. Like that one of my memorable moments was when Shepard is jumping from the exploding ship and his people catch him. They only catch him if he saved them. If they're all dead, you get the bad ending.
Exactly. You hit the side of the wall, you break your neck, and you fall to your death. Like,
Right?
it's over.
And it goes back to like Dragon Age Origins, like you threw on your list earlier. It was when BioWare was at its peak, and they gave you such great RPGs with such great storytelling and choices that mattered. And in a way that we didn't get that sort of choice-based system until Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah, no, fair enough. And considering the time lap, like Mass Effect 2 was 14 years roughly before 14, 15 years before Baldur's Gate 3.
Just
And
about.
in Baldur's Gate, like obviously Baldur's Gate 3, you can kind of pick and choose your partners because that game is horny as fuck. Like everyone's trying to get on your dick. Mass Effect 2, you did have your love options, but it was literally like you actually you got more attached to the characters. Like they actually really made you work for it. And just and to me, as much as creepy and whatever the fuck that sounds like, that means that's real character development.
Definitely.
And for a game 15 years ago to make character development enough that you're like, you know what? Fuck this person. Like, I don't want to, like, what's your deal? Or actually be like, you know what? I relate to them, or like, I like them, or I wish, like, that's something huge. If it makes you feel a little fucked up, it's doing its job.
and it wasn't even just your party members. It was enemies that you interacted with. I remember so vividly the Spider Queen that
the
you would just
no, sorry, what's the name? Shit, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Too many years in the past for me to remember.
But you have to decide basically, are you going to end the species?
And if you killed her and that species in that game, in the third game, she doesn't come save you. Her horde of insects, but the saves carry over. The choices that you made 20 years ago carry over into the next game. And actually have an impact on your campaign, on your story, on how things turn out. Like such incredible choice making story that I don't know.
Rex, man, I still remember in
Rex.
game 1 I saved before the conversation. Like I remember dying or like fucking up the conversation and Rex dies. And I reloaded a save from 2-3 hours before. It's like there's no fucking way I'm letting Rex die. Rex is my boy. Like, and
Shotgun master.
Oh, unreal. And then in the second one, when you go to the Krogan world, he's the goddamn king. And if he sees you, like, Shepard, whatever you need,
Shepard,
yours. Like, no questions. You show up if he's dead, it's gonna be some next bitch being like, oh, fuck you. Like, prove yourself. Instead of just Rex being like, my mother ducker. Like,
let him in.
Exactly. Carte blanche. You want some Krogan women? Go for it. Krogan cocaine? Let's go. Like,
get out of here.
Mike needs some of that Krogan cocaine right now.
All day, friends. All day.
God, man.
Sounds
I absolutely love that game.
Yeah.
Well, it's no Castle Crashers, so that's
very true.
The only thing crashed was that plane that you went for that one, man.
Thank you, buddy.
But I also respect where you came from. Makes sense.
Thank you, boys. All right, gentlemen, I think that's it. I think we can put a nice bow on it there. That was once again, I love top fives. Top fives are like one of my favorite things. Best. Yeah, it's one of the best things that we do because it's so fun, and the fact that you guys like peen forced your fucking your Mass Effect.
I still think it's wild because we always go into these blank. We legitimately don't know what the other person's top fives are.
Yeah.
But when we were talking at the beginning and Eric looked at me through the camera, like
I saw it in your eyes. I'm like, but you said something about Skyrim, or you alluded to it. I don't know if it was on or off camera. I'm like, oh, did he go with Skyrim? I thought it was Mass Effect 2.
Yeah. No, I knew. I saw your look. I'm like, oh fuck, we both picked Mass Effect 2. All right, cool. Let's see how this goes.
I
was waiting for Skyrim to show up on yours though.
No, honorable mention. I went exclusives only.
Makes sense.
Yeah, you did way better than I did, my friend. All right, boys. I think that is it, everyone. To our incredibly beautiful Guggernauts out there watching and hanging out, thank you first off for just hanging out, stopping by. But besides that, as always, please go ahead. If you are enjoying the podcast, let us know about it. Go post in the comment. Honestly, I think the biggest thing that you can do is just send it over to a friend. If you know someone who also would enjoy growing up gaming, then invite them in. We want to bring on the Guggernauts, boys, and girls, of course. So with that, please go ahead, give us a 5-star review if you are listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. If you are on YouTube, give us a like, give us a subscribe, please, and thank you. And then go ahead, jump back, listen to our interview with Banjo Toad Studios for 1,000 Cuts. Once again, super awesome. Thank you very much, Eric. I appreciate that. And we'll be back soon. I'm going to say every 2 weeks because that's just how.
Why would you do that? Why would you do that to us?
So with that, that's it. I think I covered it all. I love you all. Thank you very much for hanging out. And Brandon, you know what to do, my man.
All right, man. Well, I'm going to stand up loosely to show this off.
Oh, God,
Goku, motherfuckers. Very proud of that shirt. Mike was commenting on it earlier, and I realized in the camera shot, you can't actually see that as Goku as a kid. Either way, I think that was a solid time. I hope you guys are enjoying Top 5 as much as we have been enjoying it. And I just want to hear about your guys' Top 5. Like, let us know. Hit us up in the socials. Hit us up in the emails. Let us know what you agree with, disagree with. Just let us know, man. There's so many games. So when we were going through the lists here on 360 games, like even Lost Odyssey, I saw that pop up on a list somewhere.
Yeah.
And I fucking love that JRPG, man. Like it was almost in my honorable mentions. It got cut from the short list, but there's so many games, just hidden gems. And there's also games, as Mike showed us here with his questionable picks sometimes, that there's sometimes emotions fuel memories. Yeah. Even for me with Gears of War, the books obviously fueled it. We want to hear what you guys think of, like, celebrate us the death of Xbox 360's marketplace. So just let us know, man. And we'll see you on the next one, whenever it may come. Probably the Guggernaut Gala to unleash the folders of media consumption. So, as always, man, and women, and everyone else in between, thank you for coming by. And most of all, thanks for stopping by. We'll see you on the next one.